Bronwyn, great to be here at the ANDHealth Australian delegation booth here at HLTH Europe in Amsterdam 2025. We meet again in another country.
We meet again on something that feels eerily similar, slightly different.
Yeah.
And with much better sweets.
I would agree. There's
much
more people.
Better sweets.
More people, more sweets.
Not sweet people, but sweets.
Yes.
As in, tasty things that are made on hot plates.
Yeah, and tasty insights into the future of healthcare as
Oh,
well.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, it wasn't great, but I'll deal with it. For those unfamiliar with the Australian delegation to events, tell me about what ANDHealth does for organisations coming into regions like Europe.
Cool. So Health Europe is actually week 2 of the ANDHealth program. So we spent a week in London and Manchester with roughly 20 delegates doing London Tech Week. We do custom programming. So we go out to key leaders and go-to-market partners and we run programming that is specific for digital and connected health startups wanting to go to these countries. And then we join into these larger conferences like Health Europe. And Health Europe is really interesting. Everyone asks me, how does it compare to Health US?
Oh, yep.
And I guess my answer is it really shouldn't. So this is a very different ecosystem. It is a series of very large markets that have a unified economic cooperation basis. And so I think as Australians, we often don't look to Europe as much as we should as a potential target market. Yeah. And also I would echo that for the UK. But it's more, I guess, it's a conglomerate of markets versus Health US is very much focused on the biggest market in the world. That's very important. Yeah. This is more about a conglomerate of markets. It has a really different vibe.
Yeah, absolutely. And so different organisations come along with organisations, but also individuals too, come along with the delegation. Some here are exhibiting at Health Europe. Tell me about the types of organisations that are coming and those that would get some value from setting up shop.
Yeah, so the types of companies I think that really benefit from this is all companies. Okay. So I think if you're starting a startup in Australia, you will be looking for a global market to go to. And I think the earlier you engage with those markets, the better prepared you are to guide your product development strategy from the very beginning. And so we are really obsessed with the US market in Australia. Our investors are obsessed with the US market. But there are other large markets that have different ways that their health system operate that we really should be considering seriously when we're building startup companies. And so one of the things I think is that the companies mainly that are exhibiting are all ready for market or in market. And so that's really good. But just being here and listening to world leaders talking about regulation, transformation, things that have worked in various countries, things that have not worked in various countries, those lessons are really critical for all entrepreneurs or anyone supporting entrepreneurs to know when they're working in this space, because it's still a very nascent and evolving market.
Yeah. I've been watching with interest, particularly in the regulatory AI Act space, and lessons learnt from the good old GDPR days and the implications that something like GDPR had on, if you're implementing in the EU, even if you weren't particularly doing business in the EU, if you ever were intending to one day, engage with someone from that region, you're probably going to want to be GDPR compliant, if you know what I mean. So I get the sense that there's kind of essence of that with, say, AI Act and other regulation that people be following on what Europe's doing to see what the rest of the world will do from there too. But
that's really true. So I was really fortunate on Monday and Tuesday to be invited to the Health Transformation Summit.
Oh, cool.
Which was a collaboration between Health Community and the World Economic Forum, and it was sponsored by BCG, and they've just released a new white paper on AI in healthcare. That was really fascinating. 200 to 300 invited attendees, so the heads of global regulators, policy experts from governments.
Yes.
There was quite a variety of opinions in that room, which I found kind of interesting. So there were some people saying, well, regulators have been dealing with innovation forever. Others saying, well, regulation never keeps up with innovation.
Yes.
Some people say we shouldn't have regulation. Other people saying, well, you can, and we have seen patient harm when things are allowed to go to market unregulated. So there's definitely I don't think there's a universal view of where we're going, especially around AI. I think the theme that resonated most for me, and I was fortunate enough to, work with a round table of leaders and then speak on their behalf, is the importance of trust.
Yes.
And the importance of bringing the consumer and community alongside us when we deploy AI. So rather than just saying, well, it's good for everyone if we use your data, saying, well, we'd like to use your data and this is why we'd like to use your data and this is how everyone benefits and this is how you personally benefit. But without community and consumer backing, forcing technology onto consumers means that we just get resistance in the end. And so for me, it's all about building trust, but not just trust in the healthcare system, but trust in and with and by consumers and community. And that's an area that I think it's emerging, but potentially not an area that anyone does particularly well at the moment.
No, I like that. Lastly, then, I'm going to go have a chat with some of the Australian organisations here at the delegation. What do you think that the Aussies bring where they might be punching above their weight, or they might just be able to deliver value that might not otherwise be, because there's one thing about bringing business into Australia, but potentially there's opportunity for these organisations to move into these regions and help out some of the providers that are over there and other things too. What's unique?
So one thing that's really different about this delegation is the number of companies we have with us that are in market somewhere in this region, including the UK. So that's really cool. It demonstrates that we have product that can be deployed now. That's from Australia, Australian, grown tech that can be deployed right now. That's a thing. I think as the country that travels the furthest to be here. We demonstrate a hunger and an enthusiasm for collaboration that maybe some of the bigger countries that are more closely located don't demonstrate. And I also just think the group that are with us, they're just so open to the opportunities that Europe presents. And I just think that that's immensely valuable.